Now, we were able to defeat that, but instead what emerged was this task force called the Student Success Task Force. And initially speaking, there was a lot of excitement around this because we thought, well, we know that there are various achievement gaps, and maybe this is a way to examine that. But what emerged was the following, which was a study that said the best way to support students is to require students to have some front-loaded services at the beginning, matriculation, orientation, and assessment. Incidentally, those are all good, provided that they're done correctly. And that if you don't adhere to this new regimen, you go to the back of the line. Now, the problem is that when this was introduced, there was absolutely no money to provide these services, zero. So my organization took a look at this and we said, now wait a minute. What are we really doing? Are we actually helping students succeed, or are we frustrating the dreams of students because there is no money to provide these services, so that on the natural, those who are more ready to succeed, meaning that they have college in their family history, you know, many, many, many generations. Raise your hand if you're a first-generation college student right here. I would like the camera to reflect that that's about half the room. This is really important statistic here. So it would be safe to say that you can't go to your parents and say, what class should I take based on your college experience? That would be a safe assumption. And we said, how are you going to do this? And this was the answers that came out. We're going to do it on the basis of technology, creativity, and peer counseling. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Technology, creativity, and peer counseling. So my organization introduced another bill, which caused a firestorm in the Capitol. I'm going to tell you how ridiculously controversial this was. And you're going to tell me that I am a total radical for supporting this. But we said, if you're going to do this, then you need to make a commitment, not to secure, because the community colleges can't secure funding, but to seek funding on an annual basis for the following: full-time faculty, counselors, student services, and part-time faculty office hours. Now, clap if you think that's radical. Okay, I'll talk to you two people afterwards. This was considered such a ridiculously radical notion, and we were told this has nothing to do with student success. I will tell you the story. There was a task force put together on the student success before the report came out, which led to the legislation. There were 5 faculty members on the task force, and they said, we'd like to talk about counselors, about full-time faculty, about student services. Every time they raised it, they were told, no, you can't talk about it. Then, when it got to the legislation, we said, how come that stuff isn't in there? And they said, well, it wasn't part of the task force. Well, we said, of course it wasn't part of the task force. You didn't allow it to be there. So we introduced our own bill. We were able to get some of the language in our bill into the bill that ultimately passed. But really, no one is against student success. That's ridiculous. We're all invested in student success. Now I do have to say as a caveat, this year there's $50 million to support some of the functions, which is great. And we think that there is lots of opportunity to make the community college experience a better experience, except it does require more than simply front-loaded services.